First of all, I just want to start by saying, thank you, God. Um, I have to be thankful. Life is horrible, and it's gonna get worse. But there's one life that is worse than the life I'm living. It's not a life of hardship. It's not a life of uncomfortability. At least when it comes to just everyday thing. But it's a life that's so disgusting and indignified and nasty. I've never been this like spiritual, like, oh, but there is honor and dignity in life in certain things, and these things are so indignified, and I don't care how they try to minimize the reality of what they're part of. I'll put that in their fucking face, because we're all gonna die. Listen, when people say time is limited, it's not something they say just to be corny. It's not something they say just to be cheesy. It's true. We will die. Today things are fun, you might enjoy, but tomorrow, who knows, you might get like a disease that can be the reason why you're dying. It can come at any point. So for me, when I look at these people dedicating their life in this foulness and really just being foul shit and putting so much energy into it, I'm like, please continue to live these things. Matter of fact, I love when they groom these children to do that so early on, so the shit in them grows as soon as possible, flourish in them. The good energy that will come back from them starting early. And I know this. People growing up doing what they do is not going to happen. They're not going to grow up to be normal. It's a fact. You don't grow up involving yourself in such a disgusting things. Even grooming them to frame people, which is even worse because, I'm a target individual. A lot of the things that's happened to me is happening to me using very sophisticated weapon system. That doesn't even, you don't need a human being to be doing this something to you directly. This is done remotely using these energy weapons. They are destroying my organs. And I don't think they're poisoning me. And even if they're poisoning me, that's not really what they need to do. Maybe it's an additional thing. But they're literally targeting my body and destroying, using this weapon system. So today I'm slowly wasting away because they're targeting my organs. They destroy my body using this weapon system. And if they do other things like poisoning, which is what they've mentioned they do, it's not necessary because I understand this capability of this weapon system can do harmful things. They can do surgery or surgical type of things towards you remotely. They can fuse your organs together. They can clog your organs. They can do things like that and make you unable to eat, make you unable to digest, make you unable to breathe using this weapon system. So the weapon system that is being applied onto us target individual is simple. Is not simple, but it's weapon system that's coming from very, very powerful governmental entities, and I mean the Department of Defense. They're using as human subjects, test subjects, civilian as test subjects. This is why this very sophisticated weapon system is happening to us. It's not people who, it's just not happening just to happen. No. This weapon system is being developed, it's being improved on, it's being refined, and they do that using human beings. Now, the truth is, as a target individual, you're going to be surrounded by just a controlled environment of all kind of clownery. Right now, I'm hearing some childlike trash talking to me. Nothing new. They've done that to others. Do I think these retards of human beings are the one in charge? No, I know they're just the bottom feeders that partake in this. They use children to partake in this. And it's trying to agitate you because this technology does not only destroy your body, but it destroys your mind and attacks your mind. So they're using this weapon system that also can target your brain, that can override your thought process, that can override your brain, rewire your brain, manipulate your brain. And so these perps, which are civilians contracted by these governmental entities to implement these tactics, that go through like these scripts of things to agitate you, to disturb you, to push you into insanities, are utilizing V2K voices call. What you're going to hear is where they can pipe in their voices into your brain, and they sometimes use these children that's supposed to sound agitating. It's so sad because these child trash are going to grow up to be trash. They're already trash as children. So growing up, the future is going to be destroyed. And I'm listening to them, and they're supposed to agitate me. I was like, oh my gosh, you have such a bright future ahead of you. And on top of that, is they're telling me that they're going to use these children that are already so compromised at such a young age to frame me, saying that they're going to say, I raped them. And they keep saying, you raped a child. And they're the children they talk about. I'm like, oh my gosh, the blessing of this child. Oh, like, it's so easy to predict. Oh yeah, the future of the child saying that somebody raped them. Amazing. They grew up to be so great. It's completely normal, bright future, super normal. You have blessed your child. I know that what I'm saying is being sarcastic because they know what I'm trying to say. And I'm supposed to be mad at me in this state of more not doing well. I understand that I'm perhaps dying. I'm not saying that to be cynical. I've accepted death. I've seen many die before me participating in my torture. I've seen people laughing about certain things, and then the next thing, their life is in jeopardy. It's crazy. Since 2019 to today, the things that have happened in this environment of mine. Like I moved to New York, and so much stuff has happened here in New York. As they started doing this V2K manipulation, people were mocking me right before the COVID. I remember. Then seeing COVID just hit the city in such a destructive way. And people were mocking me, like, oh, Happy New Year in 2019, New Year's Eve. Oh, you're going to have a great year, huh? That year, so many died. I'm sure so many of them watching me died. They were all laughing, like, oh yeah, because at that point, when you be manipulated in these ways, when the V2K started, I didn't even want to go outside. Because what happened is every time I go outside, they force me to get this reaction, stimulation, sensation. It was disgusting. So you become like just isolated in your own room. And they were all laughing at me. Oh, you're going to be great, yeah, Happy New Year. That year, everybody had to stay inside. So, I remember being in a grocery store. These women that today participate in this program with all the booster, the vaccinations. I remember one woman look at me, and I can describe her as a white woman, very progressive looking. Looked at me, looked for booger in her nose, wiped it on the shelf, staring at me to try to make me scared, because at that point, COVID was something, but it was not taken serious. Today, I'm sure this woman have all the vaccine and boosters. But then she was just like, and I'm like, yeah, life is just magical. You see how clownery, like these people are trash. I love that how life, something has shown them. It's like, you are the opposite of everything you're projecting. It's been magical. Then, when I'm being manipulated and tormented and rewired in disgusting ways, apparently the same year there was a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act. End National Defense Network Abuse Act. End National Defense Network Abuse Act. It's a bill that was presented in 2019 because the Department of Defense computers network were being used to download child porn. So much so that a child protective service agency specializing in child porn ranked the Department of Defense network as having some of the most child porn in the United States, and quote, naming them a top tier for child porn trafficking. Magical. And they were like, no, you are a pedophile. When all along they work for governmental entities with clear issue of pedophilia. That's so clear that they're even using the computers given to them by these governmental entities that does these things to us. To download child porn. Like, it's like every time there's more and more validation, humiliating these people. Not going forward, fast forward to today. More validation. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all the testimonials of especially women. Now, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of, as soon as you find out about target video, you recognize immediately, okay, they're targeting a lot of women too. Matter of fact, if you then find out even children are being tortured. And the facade of all these things they're trying to present themselves, like they're telling me like, no, we avenge pain, die, scrape for what you did. You hear the testimonials of children as young as 7 years old being tortured to the point where they're screaming. And you listen to this trash like, what the fuck do you think I'm gonna look at? You a nasty trash. And they tell me you're gonna rot in hell. I was like, I'd rather rot in hell, because whatever you're in, if that's heaven, oh, you're fooling yourself, boo boo. You're about to go to hell that you don't even understand you're going to. For me, I expect the worst, because my torture is gonna be theatrical. People who've been humiliated in every way. I was with some perp yesterday. You know how delusional they get? They start rolling their eyes when I bring up the fact that they torture women. And you know, I know she's a perp, right? So we talk in codes. There's this woman called Megan. Megan, thank you. Megan is a woman who's today is getting her genital burnt using this weapon system. They're targeting the genitals like they do to many target individuals, harming her physically using this weapon system. You're gonna hear. But the saddest part about Megan is when she was a child, she went through a lot of horrible things. She was abused, molested, raped by her father, and things like by people who were supposed to be responsible of her. And as an adult woman, of course, deal with the trauma of that. But on top of that, the additional trauma of having to live a suffering life of being tortured and used as a test subject, where they use this weapon system onto her to harm her in different horrible ways. Traumatizing today because of the weapon system hitting her genitals, hitting her body, burning her, breaking her bones, like fragilizing her bones, doing all these things to the point where she's homeless. But at the same time, she's like, you know what? Living in the house is not good, because what's happening is that once you end up being in the house somewhere, they burn her genitals, they harm her even worse using this direct weapon system. But when she's in a car, she's scared because she's a woman homeless living in a car. So she's like, there's no good options. In the house, this weapon system burning her genitals, burning her, doing harmful things. In a car, she's just the fear. There's plenty of women who decided that have the option to live in their house, moved out. Kina Jones, TID 2020, she's like, I'm living in my car. I have a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, 2 bathroom. I have land. I have all the. I'm living in my car right now because my neighbors are doing these things to me. Because it's worse for me to be in the house. These things, they're frying my body. I'm thinking my heart ache. I'm thinking I'm dying right now. So I know what they do. I know. They want to live in this fantasy now because we're different. Look at us. And this is obviously a program that uses us, target individual human subject, as guinea pigs. But they also have applied these tactics of confusion of targeting, distort the reality, and make the target individual believe this fantasized, put together narrative that this program creates to put that in front of you, the facade of it all. Oh, we're this cult of people. Oh, we're this Russian mafia. We are this and that. We're that. When you clearly know, it's like, no, what's happening to my body? It's not because Russian mafia is doing that to me. It's not. This is all theatrical. This weapon system is the 21st century weapon system. Weapon system that they've been developing for years and decades. So you think civilians just do that? Like, no, of course, you know the supervision of this Department of Defense. Think they let people just having all this weapon system that can just fucking destroy your organs from miles away. Just surgically destroy your. You think they're gonna let some random? What? No. You just this civilian trash contracted by these governmental entities to utilize this onto us for the purpose of developing this weapon system. Trust me, there's no way these governmental entities are not supervising this low life to ensure like you know this is, and they know their place. They know, you know how I know they know their place. For me, for some reason, I love to say this. Listen, this man has nothing to do with me. I have no connection to this Roy Moore individual. The reason why I say him, the only connection I have with him is the people who put me in this program were very and still very, very, very influential in the political scene. They donate so much money to a lot of politicians for their campaign. They've donated a lot and they're renowned for donating a lot of money. They're still up there for donations. They donate money for this man who's running for, I think, governor of Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. But things of what he did when he was an assistant DA came up. When he was an assistant DA, apparently he was doing things to a lot of kids. Those kids are now grown-ass women who stepped up and say, hey, when I was 14 years old, when he was an assistant DA, he was doing these things to me. He was sexually assaulted me. He did this and that. After this allegation, the people who put me in this program still donated more money, even though when everybody else backed up, even conservative, like, oh, that's too much. They were like, nope, here's more money. That's how conservative they are. That's how, like, they don't care. That's how, like, open about how conservative they are. I say that name because for some reason, even though there's talk show making fun of this person's name, laughing about how this guy was allegedly doing this and that, they can't even say his name unless it's said in such a careful way, very timed way. Like mystify a name of a man who allegedly was picking up kids when he was an assistant DA. Saying his name as if it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a god's that's blasphemous to say his name. This is how pathetic this whole life are. So for me, I'm like, I know you're just super, like, you're just so nothing. But on top of that, what they're part of, they deserve horrible things. But it will come to them one way or another. To see this woman who wants me to let her go into the fantasy, they get frustrated. That's how come? Let us live our fantasy. Let us believe this fantasy. You delusional. I was with her and I could see the frustration. So when I was like, oh yeah, how's therapy? Right? The reason why I'm saying that is Megan, a woman who when she was a child, forget about even today she's being, but when she was a child, all these horrible things happened to her as a child. From fathers or whoever, she got raped, all these terrible things. As an adult today, they've been traumatizing even more because today what's happening is they're using this weapon system onto her. She can't even get consistent treatment, therapy. You know, every once in a while they let her, and then just something happens that somehow is sabotaged. Healthcare, psychological healthcare, or even physical healthcare is compromised with her. And so I know that these people, to me, now present themselves as this avenging feminists, which is all facades. They can come to more most conservative, masculine, like toxic, like they can come in every ways. It's all just a projection of a false reality to make you confused enough to think, oh, maybe it's not the government that does these things to us. It's these people's money. They're making me pay. And what they usually talk about is me when I was a kid. The impulsive act of a child that they have to exaggerate. I'm like, you're a delusional trash. You think you involved in a program that tortured these babies this way? Suffocating children? Sexually harming them? You're going to hear that. Of course, I'm not going to let them live there. I'll put that in their faces. Sexually torturing children. Let me repeat that. Sexually tortured children. Sexually. And it's funny that I'm looking at my other phone. I have 14%. And so because what I did when I was a child, I was a 13, 14-year-old. They tried to be like, oh, 14. Sexually torturing children. Using weapon system. And talk about me as a kid. Like they want me to go into let them fantasize this reality. It's like you gonna make me pay for me as a child in middle school, and I'm supposed to let you think that you should be seen as an avenger involved in a program where I can hear the testimonies of what you guys do to children. You're fucking delusional shit. Matter of fact, for all the abuses of all these women and children, even abusing women who were abused when they were children, nasty shit. That's not how it works. But thank you for giving me this opportunity to be this dignified person for you. Because you think life can be created in this fashion. That you can be involved in a program that abuses and tortures children in so many horrible ways and try to talk about me who's 13, 14 years old, a fucking middle schooler. Have an impulsive act of a child that just does something stupid and I'm going to let you work in a program, involve yourself in a program where they suffocate 7-year-old kids, and call now it's gonna be abuse. Trust you, abuse are hurt everywhere. From what you do to women, to what you do to children, for what you do to infants, you fucking trash. For the mothers who see their children being abused by weapon system. And then the psychological manipulation is disgusting. So today when I look at these babies, from the little ones to the older kids, forcing me to get sexual stimulation. This is now new. They do that to others. And like, now what we do is we'll map your brain. We'll map your brain to you when you were a kid. And matter of fact, when they say, oh, you abused, try to talk about me as a child, actually exaggerate what I did as a child. You see, remember what you did as a kid? No, I'm a grown man. I never experienced this thing. Especially when you try to talk to me about me as a child. I'm a grown man. You think I'm going to be like, oh, man, now you're right, You made my brain be like a child brain. It's stupidity. No, you do these things because they attack the mind. They attack the mind by forcing people to have this nasty reaction. And like, now we prove that we trash everybody. I'm not a genius. Okay? I first, what they try to do is like, they try to make it seem like everybody saw this. And then you realize, well, if it's that obvious from you, I'm not a genius. Everybody can see clearly they have the tendencies of attacking the brain by forcing people to have sexual stimulation toward children. Others have said that I have no connection with these people. I don't know them. Why would they say the same thing? No, but with you we're mapping. Now today we're mapping. It's you when you're a kid. Stupidity. You force people to have this nasty manipulation, and then you try to find a way to validate yourself. Like, no, but when you were a kid, when I was a kid, what would you make? Did you make me mentally retarded? That's why you have this child like trash, sounding like they're mentally ill. Participate in this? Maybe you want me to be on that level of retardation. Target individual. See things for they are. You are no longer yourself. You are being rewired and manipulated in disturbing ways. This is the way they attack your body. That's the way they attack your mind. Now, you want to hear what they do to women? Or let's start off what they do to children. This is the people who is avenging me. Who's avenging for what I did as a child. These trash are fully involved in a program that literally use young children as test subjects. This is the not real things that they want me to block out. They love to say that every time they say not real, every time I bring up the fact they torture women and children. But I find dignity and honor in making sure that I put the not real things in their faces.
Next here for Nestor.
Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here. It is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today.
This is the not real things they do to women and children. Let's listen to some more not real.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc.
Do you want to hear what they do to this 7-year-old?
Torture. One day, I was observed One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also worked with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions.
She moves on and said the same thing about a 3-year-old. You want to hear what they do to a woman who was molested, abused as a child, and today what she has to deal with on top of refusal of having like health care or mental health care? Listen to this woman. Megan, thank you for your testimonials because it helps. Target individual, we are surrounded by people who are supposed to counter reality. And supposed to make you believe that they're these Avengers people that just like making you pay for what you've done, and they try to make you accept of these manipulations and make you accept this persona they put together in whatever ways they try to put together. Then humiliating reality is blasting their faces.
Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and it felt like someone pushing out something inside of my body.
This is Megan. She's a target individual. You heard the things she has to deal with.
Just like if my teeth are like pressed forward, and I don't know. It's a lot of strange things. I've been doing some research, I guess what it's called, organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today.
This is what she goes through. This is her fear now.
Just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety. Because the government's burning the private parts of my body.
This woman, who's today being burned and tormented and tortured using this weapon system from the governmental entities like the Department of Defense, was abused, molested, raped as a child. Today, as an adult woman, she's traumatized of what she went through as a child. But on top of that, they're traumatizing her today in real time in the way they're torturing today. These lowlife are involved in this. This is disgusting. And mentally, psychologically, they are manipulating my brain in these disturbing pedophilia ways. And they're using whatever they can. Matter of fact, they were just trying to bring up this joke or phrase I heard when I was in high school that was, this like kind of like dark humor thing that I used to make fun of my best friend who we don't have like no like PC censorship. We just make fun of each other in whatever ways. It's like, you say this, that, you're a pedophile. It's trash you talk about. You know what the Department of Defense has as issues. First of all, let's just say the way they manipulate your brain. The manipulation of the brain is consistently pedophilia-centric. So they do these things to target
This
individuals.
is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
Almost all target individuals are forced to see child pornography in their mind. That means that we're being manipulated to have thought process, to imagine child pornography in your mind. That's all they do to me. This target individual
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind. But he thought of it. It's disgusting, disgusting, disgusting.
Thought of pedophilia. That's what that person wanted to say. This is commonly mentioned.
It's referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dream.
Pedophilia type of torture. Since then, I've been using the same terminology to describe what they do to me, and they play with my libido just like they play with so many of our target individuals' sexual arousals, to play with you, to just torment you, to degrade you. So they do these things.
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
So they make you have this sexual arousal to torment the shit out of you, to disturb you. So I see, for example, image of a child, or even these people who, I'm not sure, the children, they look like teenagers, stimulation, but it's worse than that. Babies, let me see. These people, refugees, see these kids over there. Kids starving for food. So they do that to the babies, to the older kids that you saw earlier, where they try to make me look at this person. They look like a teenager or something. That look at this person's chest area. To create some thoughts and perceptions that's sexual. And then try to gaslight you every time they manipulate you to have this reaction. And it's like, no, we proved it. It's like, what the hell? You know who's proving you? First of all, they rewire the thought process. They rewire the thought process, part of how they break you down. It's unfortunately a cognitive warfare type of thing. This weapon system obviously tortures your body, but psychologically, cognitively break you down.
That you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare.
It becomes just like this cognitive manipulation that's supposed to torment you. And they do that because of this.
So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program, really. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define the probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So,
you understand? So this is why they're using this onto us target individuals to continuously develop the matrix of the tactics that works. So for me, they when they force me to have this reaction, they're like, oh, you remember what you did as a kid? Or they're like, oh, ha, 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 this joke, this phrase I heard that was just absurd, that I heard when I was in high school, then use this to make fun of my best friend, who used to make fun of me of how skinny I was and how I looked like I had like some kind of disease because I was that skinny. I'm like, really? Then you find out this trash, actually, something that's not a laughable matter, is actually this lowlife who try to paint you as this pedophile are actually working for governmental entities where pedophilia has been a consistent issue. That a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act was introduced in 2019. Listen to this.
There should be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible.
This ranking was consistently happening. They were not just one time at a top tier level. No. The people who were ranking the networks said DOD consistently are at a high level of child porn trafficking. This is not the 1 year they'll surprise. No, they consistently are high up there for child porn trafficking within the network. So it's a consistent issue. Matter of fact, it's so consistent that in 2007, there was a bunch of like DOD employees caught under this like investigation for like this child porn website that was getting subscriptions. And it caught a bunch of emails from people from the DOD. That's in 2007. In 2019, 2018, it got even worse. So when they're like, ha ha ha. When they're like, ha ha ha, it's funny, funny. Like, talk about this phrase I heard that was absurd. But they're using that because they try to break you down into accepting what you're experiencing today. It's like, oh, you see that? It's like, this is coming from pedos that do this manipulation of my brain. Of course, me, I'm a fucking teenager. Hearing this joke or this phrase that was absurd, thinking that, oh, I'm going to use that to make fun of somebody. Because it's benign. Of course, me, I'm thinking about this is absurd. But these people who are out here renowned to be rewiring the brain, this pedophilia work, torturing children, renowned for manipulating people in this pedophilia way, torturing children, causing all this horrible thing, working for top-tier child porn traffickers, try to gaslight you into accepting these manipulations. And then play the feminist or whatever to try to say, oh, because we're women, this is different, we're avenging. It's like trash. So many women have been suffering under this program. Women are even calling out this.
But I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, she was shot in the face. You know, sound like a angry ass old person. You know, that a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Oh, shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is, with the voices go, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What?
Target individuals, stay strong. Know who you are. Do not identify with this low life trashiness. And they tell me how they're gonna frame me. And these kids have like, no, I'm so proud. I'm gonna be framing you. I was like, good. Please do that. Please let that be your pride. Your proudness come from this. Your bottom feeling. You're so sad. Your parents failed you. But please continue. Please. You dragged yourself to hell while dragging me to this hell that's not gonna last. Target individuals, stay strong and see this low life for what they are. And when I say it's not going to last, it's because I understand that even my current state is not even the life state. I'm phasing away. They even compromise their children towards somebody who's dying either way. So it loses even that like theatrical aspect of it all. It's like looking at a dying man, it's like, oh, they're going to do this and that. It's like, this dying man is dying right now. He knows that. He's aware. You said that it doesn't mean as much as what it meant. If you were saying that to me when I was fully alive, oh, that'll be different. But as I understand the circumstances of my current health state, it loses that. So even if I'm screaming, I'm like, Ryan, look at me. You missed. But you, as healthy, strong you are right now, oh, the magic that can come to you. And it will. So my target is just stay strong.